think when we talk about value and creativity, and I know part of the kind of reason for this conversation, there's a lot of people out there that just don't think it's valuable. Right? There's a lot of people that don't get what it is. Their mental model of what creativity is stopped when they were 9 or 10. Some people put it away, and then other people continue to develop it. And it's that continuing to develop it where you start to see it as a problem-solving tool or a way to kind of find new opportunities.
Everyone's a photographer. Everybody's got a phone. Everybody's got a camera of some kind. And a lot of clients would say, well, if we can get that stuff done, really cheaply, we don't need to go to a professional photographer.
You've got to kind of understand as professional creatives the relationship there. Yeah, you can do bits of this, but we do it at scale, on demand, at speed, with a higher level of quality and a higher level of innovation every time.
Trying to think about the whole thing globally instead of just about the photography is more interesting for me and ultimately better for the client. And when we're talking about price and value, that's the piece that delivers the value.
The current shift in creativity is about the world is more complex, and a lot of the work we do is about kind of helping to redesign internal processes so that they can do more in more places with less.
Before, where it used to be, we want X amount of social media posts, or we need this exact logo, or whatever it is, we can go, well, like, why are you doing that? And I think part of the creative process is obviously questioning all of those elements.
To my mind, where we need to be is everybody needs to understand how they are creating value. And to find the right opportunities for them, you have to set clear expectations and then deliver on those expectations. That's how you create value. It's as simple as that. Neither of my businesses, I would say, are really in the space of tracking revenue increases. And so I don't want to position myself there because I can't deliver on it, I can't be over it. I'm usually part of a much bigger team and it's kind of their job to do that. So to my mind, there's kind of 3 broad areas we look at: efficiency, effectiveness, and impact. We're usually going to make the most kind of value for them in one of those spaces.
There's so many moving parts, isn't there? Because if a company, if you did all that work and they didn't implement it and they didn't increase their revenue, you can't get into I did this work and it wasn't worth anything, because there's just so many different parts of it.
We started a big campaign back just around 99, 2000 for Jameson. And after a 2 or 3 year period of concerted photography and a campaign with a singular clear message, they grew by about 40% over a relatively short amount of time.
Obviously, when it comes to implementation of social media content and things like that, it is all measurable. Like, we can A/B test creatives and see what works. There still is a lot of moving parts. Like, there's the context of the campaign, as you were saying. If there's a great campaign message and that's the focus, if there's a lot of things happening at the same time, I guess you can specifically measure it and say, put a value on that and charge specifically for that. But changes per client, because what works for some brand may not work for another. So I would definitely shy away from saying I can guarantee you this amount of revenue increase. So getting client buy-in, I think that's something that we heavily underestimated when we first started out, in that we kind of thought we were just answering the brief and delivering a response. But the more that we've developed over the years, we've learned that bringing the client along from the very beginning and getting them an understanding of our process and how we tackle things often leads to a much more successful project. Initially, getting client buy-in for us is having more conversations. It's having, discussions with clients before starting a project. It's explaining the different elements and what they're actually going to expect. I think that it's silly of us to think that we know better than the client, but at the same time, we have the skills and experience to execute what it is that they need in the best possible way.
It's interesting to point out that we all are aware that we are probably more expensive than some people, we're probably cheaper than some people. We all know, I know the price of my company, I know where I sit, I think, in the competitive landscape in Ireland. So I would say to some people, you should probably do that with us because we might get more value out of it, or you might be better spending your money somewhere else. So it's interesting that in the background of all of this, we do kind of know where we sit in terms of literally, the value of our work.
You talked about at a certain point, students go, how should I price this?
Yeah.
And it's really hard because they're just starting out.
Exactly.
So but I would recommend to any student, if they're in that situation, they have to kind of do the research, and they also have to be realistic about it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they've got to understand that they have if there's a few people ahead of you in the year and they're freelancing, ask them,
Exactly.
how much do you charge? And then say, well,
I know
I'm
more or
kind of
less.
at this end of
Yeah.
the spectrum in terms of quality and what I'm being asked to do, but I'm going to be cheaper than that person is a year ahead of me.
I think it's a really good point that you have to talk to other people in the
Yeah.
industry. We've just finished a really big project among about 55 photographers in Ireland, where we did a completely anonymous survey of pricing structures. Because previously, and it's probably the same for designers, you might have shadowed somebody, or you might have, worked as an assistant or an apprentice designer or whatever, and you build up a picture of the scale of the industry and what the rates are at the top and the middle and the lower ends. And going into it completely blind, has been quite a destructive factor, I think, in the creative industry in this country.
I think it's great to see the photography community doing that. I think it's massively needed in design, and I think the anonymous nature of it. I think people get really cagey about this, and I think human nature has this thing of I won't publish it because I might just get a bit more value. You have to be super transparent. You have to be super clear if you want to build confidence and build trust and get somebody to understand your value.
But maybe we should be more transparent, because people question. We say, "What's your budget?" No one ever tells us, or sometimes they do, because they think we'll go right. We'll give us that, and then we'll see what we can do. If we are more transparent collectively, maybe that wouldn't be an issue. Maybe it's we all know what the cost is, and the way we price things is extremely honest. It's down to the hour. We know what's going to
ours is very much based on
analysis.
time.
It is about trying to be honest and straightforward and kind of understand what the market going rate is and where you're delivering value for them within that.
In my experience, it's better for everybody when everyone working in the industry knows what things cost and what to charge. When that happens, and when there's a transparency, as you said, about that, it's better for everybody in the long run. It's more profitable and more sustainable for a creative industry.